I am not a watch expert by any means. In order to build what I consider to be a very respectable collection of high quality timepieces that even a watch snob can't turn their nose up to, I had to learn the basics of men's watches. I'm going to go through how I built this collection piece by piece and what I learned along the way that might be helpful to you if you're thinking of starting a watch collection of your own, or if you're just looking to buy a single watch for yourself or as a gift. Now you may be wondering how a vintage Omega timepiece fits into what I'm calling a cheap collection of watches. And I will get to that. But the first thing that you need to know is that there are some perfectly respectable watches under 50 bucks. So this price range is obviously where I started for my first watch of my collection, which for the style, there are basically 4 different major styles of watches. Field watches, which are military inspired, dive watches, dress watches, and what I would call designer watches. I'm not counting all of the just monstrosity, like monster cyber watches. They don't really get a category. These are the only 4 categories I'm going to talk about because I think these are the only 4 categories serious men really need to worry about. So the watch that I chose for my first one is a Timex Weekender. It's a field watch, so military inspired. Just very simple, very rugged. It's a watch I can wear every day and I don't have to worry about it. This model is a little bit basic. The lugs are very basic, and it is a little bit smaller than what I would have actually liked, I think. It comes in at about 34 or 36 millimeters. If I had it to do over, I actually would have not gotten this one. I would have gotten the Timex Expedition Scout. That comes in at 40 millimeters, which is a more natural size. That's the kind of the standard size for a men's watch in 2024. It has been for a while. There was a fad of much bigger watches. You want to stay away from those. Especially men with daintier, thinner wrists can definitely easily get away with a smaller watch. And as I'll get into later, our father's watches were quite a bit smaller than what people are wearing now. So in the vintage category, those smaller watches totally still hold up. If you prefer the dive watch aesthetic, then another perfectly good option under $50 would be the Casio Black Dive. Another very good, rugged watch, and also obviously it's more waterproof, so if you are a fisherman or a sailor, that might be the obvious choice for you. Now, my second watch that I bought is also a quartz, so it means it also has a battery that needs to be changed, but it actually cost me about $200. Now, that's because I decided that I wanted a Swiss watch for my second watch. I've been doing my research and really realized that all the best watches in the world are Swiss. So I was looking into this one. This is the company that makes all of the clocks in every train station in Switzerland. And the look of it is just iconic and very design. I don't know how else to explain it. Also for my second watch, I wanted something that was a bit more of a statement piece for myself, something more personal. And as a graphic designer, this design really kind of spoke to me. It's partially based on the Helvetica typeface, so it just really seemed like it was the perfect fit for me. What's really interesting is that this is the watch that's gotten me, I'd say by far, the most spontaneous compliments of anything in my watch collection. And this is also the watch that even the stuffiest watch snobs are definitely going to know its iconic history in Swiss watchmaking. It's the Mondaine Simply Elegant. It's a very thin, very elegant watch. They also make the Swiss Railway watch in a quartz or in a automatic version, which is just under 500 euros. I'll have a link in the description to that and to all the watches that I'm talking about here today. So the next step up in watches is what's called automatic watches. Now these, they have no battery and you don't have to wind them. Basically they're these little engineering marvels where all the gears and everything in the inside of it, they work to store the kinetic energy that we create just by moving our wrist around during the day, just by wearing it. There's a counterweight that you can see inside here, which as it moves, it loads, I believe, a spring, which then slowly releases that energy back to keep the watch going. So I decided after my first 2 watches that I definitely wanted my third watch to be an automatic watch. The price goes up quite a bit, and this is where the price goes into the stratosphere. And so I was obviously looking for kind of the most affordable automatic watch that I could find. I'd also decided that I wanted to basically just beef up my daily wear. The Timex field watch that I had, I basically just wanted to get an automatic version, a beefier, more masculine version of that watch. So I found this one on Kickstarter for 350 euros with a sapphire glass case, front and back. As far as the Watch Snobs go, especially for a 40mm field watch, I probably should have gone for a Hamilton. I believe it's the khaki field watch is the Hamilton. Which is a Swiss made. It's around 500 euros, I believe, which is a very respectable Swiss field watch. I actually went with this one because it was only 350, and because this one was actually made in America, and as an American expat, I actually wanted another American watch in my collection. So once I'd recovered financially from purchasing my first automatic watch, I decided that the next thing that I needed, and logically the last thing that I needed, would be the watch that every man needs to have in his watch collection, and that is a classic dress watch. Just a simple, timeless, classy dress watch. Now, if I hadn't found the deal that I did on this watch, then I would have been perfectly happy with a $150 Seiko 5, which is a lovely, perfectly respectable dress watch, and the Watch Snobs wouldn't have made it peace. But as luck would have it, I found this Swiss-made Tissot automatic Viso date on eBay for $350, which was only a couple of years old. Now, this is a watch that retails for about $650. It has sapphire glass, fully Swiss-made automatic, sapphire glass in the back. It has the butterfly clasp. This is really the true heir, or the true little brother of all of the most famous and iconic Swiss watches. It's made in the same place, from the same culture, and with most of the same materials. This is basically the cheapest great watch that you can find, and it is a true buy it for life heirloom timepiece. And that should have been the end of it. It was definitely the last watch that I needed, or had any argument to say that I might need. But when you start to explore the history and tradition of these expensive baubles, it's just fun to lurk about the vintage watch pages on eBay. And that's where I found this little marvel of engineering, a vintage Omega Swiss-made automatic watch that's as old as I am and was made in Geneva, a city that I now live about 25 minutes away from. It's probably more than 50 years old. It's definitely got the sapphire glass because in all that time it doesn't have a scratch on it. It cost me about $300 on eBay, plus I think I paid another $120 or so to get it serviced when I got it. Now what's interesting with vintage watches is they are a little bit smaller than the 40mm diameter that we're used to these days, and that's more standard. And that's because traditionally, these handmade watches were like the first iPhones. Everybody was trying to prove that they could make them smaller and smaller. basically taking pocket watches and making them so small that you could fit them on your wrist. It was only later, for aesthetic purposes, that we decided, especially for men's watches, that we wanted them bigger and bigger. And then a few years ago, that got way out of control, and we've now settled back into about 40 millimeters, right about the sweet spot where you want to be. So that's how I built a perfectly respectable watch collection. And I think the biggest lesson that I learned is that in the watch space, the brands really are important. The big brands that you know are where the quality is. There's no point in going and picking a no-name brand because it's a little bit cheaper, even if you think it looks good. Stay away from Fossil or Nixon or all this other stuff, because it's just not high quality timepieces for the most part, and it's something that in 10 years you're just never going to want to wear it again. Where even a simple rugged Timex or a Casio G-Shock, if that's your thing, it's always going to be a quality timepiece, even if it's not that expensive. And you can get these quality timepieces in the full range. Like if you're under the $50 budget, then stick with Timex and Casio, and these are going to be fantastic watches in the quartz space. If especially if it's going to be like a gift for a special occasion, a graduation or something like that, and you want to try and get into an automatic watch, like I said, the Seiko 5 I believe starts at around $150, moving up into the $500 or $600. You can get into some of just really high quality Swiss made automatic watches, be it the Hamilton Khaki Field, the Mondaine, I believe it's the Evo 2, it's their Swiss Railway watch automatic, or of course, as I showed you, the Tissot Visodate, and at almost exactly the same price point is the Tissot Leloc, which is a little bit more decorative, a little bit fancier, but these are all just fantastic Swiss made automatic watches, roughly around the $500 mark, which for a gift for a very special occasion might be something that's worth doing. Or if you're only going to get one really nice watch, it might be worth pushing to that price point and getting something, like I said, it's the Biffle, the Buy It for Life. If you get one of these really high quality watches and you take halfway decent care of it, like I said, the sapphire glass is not going to scratch, it's not going to crack. These are watches that you will be handing down to your children at some point. So I hope you enjoyed taking a look at my watch collection and what it takes to put one together, some of the basics of men's watches. If you enjoyed it, I hope you will do all that fancy stuff. Hit the like button, give me a comment if there are other watch brands or models that you really fell in love with. You can go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I do all kinds of different content. Hopefully some of it will appeal to you. Hit that subscription button, and I will go ahead and put another video up here. I think it's up here, up there, somewhere up top. So you can go and check out another one of my videos. Thanks for stopping by.